Welcome, everyone, to the Flower Files podcast sponsored by Wildly Native Flower Farm. Here, everyone is welcome to talk with fellow flower lovers, including real perspectives from the farm, the flowers, and me, the florist.
From the messy day-to-day operations down to the details and even business perspectives, this podcast has a little bit of everything to keep it real. We know that life can get crazy and we don't always have the time to spend on what we love, so we are here to help you take a little time to indulge in nature. I'm Liza Getz.
I'm Lizzie Frey, and we are the team that makes this podcast. Every once in a while, we have a couple guests, this business thing, and what we are working with is called life.
Join us as we walk you through how to think outside the box, talk from the farmer's perspective, have honest conversations about florals, and how to run, well, life. So listen in.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, in the podcast section, and any of your other podcast platforms. You can also find us online at wildlynativeflowerfarm.com, and in an easy way, you can look in the show notes, and all of the information will be right there for easy access for you guys.
So welcome back to the Flower Files, guys, where we dive into tools, ideas, mindsets that help us live and work with more intention. Today's guest is someone who is changing the way women and people with cycles approach productivity and, honestly, self-care. I am super excited to have my guest today, Alyx, who is the co-founder of The Agenda. She's a coach, a speaker, creator of the Agenda app. And basically, she can fill you in on all of the awesomeness that she does because I'm not going to do it justice. So, Alyx, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
It's funny when the information first came through and we were chatting back and forth, I was like, ooh, this fits in so many different ways of what we do. So
Yay.
tell me a little bit about you and your story. How did you get started? What's your passion?
Yeah, I like to say I'm an accidental periodpreneur, which is what I have lovingly coined us at this point. Like people who are working, it tends to be women and the effeminate working in this space in a more holistic way because we have seen the gaps and recognize the issues in our own lives. So a lot of us get called first into this work, I think, based on a challenge that we've experienced. And it was no different from me. But if I like wind it all the way back, thinking about my first period story, thinking about all of it, my 10-year-old self would be mortified to know that I'm running a period app. She'd be like, where did we go wrong? What's happening? That's so lame. What are we doing? Like, why? So it was definitely a long, winding road to get here. And it's been the ride of a lifetime. So I'm really excited to be able to do it.
It's crazy to me that, somebody says period and immediately men are like,
What?
like what is,
Yikes.
and it's like, okay, calm down. Everything in life has cycles. Everything. Obviously, I'm coming at it from a plant perspective, but even plants have cycles. So, I mean, it's all cyclical. And I think it's really, really important to understand that.
Yeah, when we peel the layers back, I think there's something that's like deeply embedded in the subconscious because when we look at the planet, like the planet is a very cyclical, femininely cyclical planet. The planet has four major seasons, just like the four phases of our body. We've got about 12 to 13 moons, right? Just like most women have about 12 to 13 periods of throughout the year. It's weirdly cyclical. It's weirdly connected with the seasons. And this is very much from like the female creative energy. And so I think there maybe has been some vested interest over time to disconnect us from that as maybe the feature, not the bug. Because when women are disconnected from their four phases, when they are untapped from their cycle, they have harder times with their health and wellness journey. We have higher rates of divorce. We have higher women leaving the workforce because they're misaligned with purpose. This truly is the menstrual cycle as a spiritual practice and a holistic health practice is the blueprint for women and people with uteruses in order to live to their maximum capacity on this planet. And yet it's something we're indoctrinated from the very beginning to think is like terrible and gross and horrible. And so there's definitely a lot of work to be done, I think, to pull us back to ourselves. And the planet has an interesting map that we can use as we're relearning these things. So I think that's really what set me on this journey. I was into health and wellness. I've been working for another health coaching company since 2015. In 2018, I started working on my own health coaching company. And when I was tracking sales, I found that I had higher sales in the ovulation phase of my menstrual cycle. As a person with a business degree, this made complete sense. I was like, oh, obviously I know about myself. There's times that things feel easier or harder. Why would I not be orienting my work energy with my body energy? As soon as I solved it, it made so much sense. And it's like we kind of forgot that as a collective consciousness on the planet, and we're coming back to that now. But when I started telling people, I was like, I'm the last one to the party, right? Like everyone already knows this. And everyone's like, no, what are you talking about? We have 4 phases. What's
Okay,
happening here?
so
So
take
it's
me
been really
through
interesting.
those phases. I know it's like, oh, normally a 28-day cycle, but break it down.
Yeah, so our first phase, the easiest one to start with is the menstrual phase because there's the most visible body change. So tracking on day 1 of your period is a really great way to reset the cycle. So that's our winter season. That's our internal winter time. So when you're thinking about how to care for your body, I like to say, what are the things you like in winter? Likely a little bit slower, maybe warming or comforting foods, and giving yourself that space to kind of spread out. So we have a lot of great internal planning work internally, like looking ahead for the month, seeing what our family needs, seeing what we need individually, that can happen when we give ourselves stillness on our period.
It's a
So
huge,
that's
huge,
phase
yeah,
1.
that's a huge, I mean, everybody, kids like, oh, there are cycles linked or something like that in the barn because we have mostly women that we work with, and
Yeah.
it's a thing. It's like you just don't think as quickly. You need a little bit more of a break, or maybe you need a little bit more of a snack. It's
Yep.
different.
Yes, it's that different energy. And I found the times where I will listen to it and maybe take my calls from bed or do some work in a different arrangement, I have less period pain. I have less cramps because my body is able to kind of do that releasing and shedding process without fighting what I think I need to get done, in quotes, in the modern world. So when I actually listen to that phase, I get so much more back in the follicular phase, which is our second phase.
Okay, so talk me through that one.
Follicular phase is our busy bee time. So this is that inner spring. So just kind of seeing how the seasons are outside. You've been hibernating in winter and now boom, you've got your plan. You're ready to go. And this really works too because I'm from Iowa and like farming people, right? We can't plant the seeds in January. You don't plant seeds in winter and expect them to germinate and grow, right? We plant them in the spring. We plant them early in the spring. Maybe we have our little seedlings. So all those ideas and that vision we just created on our period, we start to put that into action during the follicular phase.
Interesting. It's okay. That's a good description of like, okay, plant the seed at the right time. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
otherwise we keep like trying to plant seeds in the frozen ground. We're like, why isn't this working? Like, well, babe, the ground's frozen. Nothing is going to grow there. So we have to give ourselves permission to do things in the order that makes the most sense for our physiology.
Okay. Okay. So then, all right.
Then is ovulation. Ovulation phase is like our inner summer. So this is potent. It's hot. It's our great time for manifesting. So like you've like made the plan, you've done the plan, and now you're receiving some of that initial benefit from carrying the plan out, right? Like that fruit in early summer where you're getting some of that stuff to come through. It's a good time for sales. It's a good time for asking for what you need. We're harder to say no to, and we're really magnetic during this phase of our cycle.
Interesting. Ooh, that's a good description. Like that. I love that you just called it magnetic because that's how it feels. It feels like you're on top of the world. Everything is working, everything is chugging along, and it's all happening and everything is good. And it's like, woohoo, look out. I'm going to get all these things done.
Exactly. And it's a potently hot season. And so if it was summer all the time, it would feel kind of like a drag to
Yeah.
constantly be in that energy and in that high intensity because we're really good at it, attuning to other people's needs. We have a lot of pro social hormones during this phase. So if we were constantly doing that, women wouldn't get much done for themselves. But having this like hot, intense season is really fantastic. And then we move into the luteal phase, which is kind of like 2 major weeks. I'd say this is our longest phase. So for the first half, typically, it's our good analyzing and organizing. We've got a lot of that intensity of energy and focus, but it's inwardly focused to ourselves rather than externally focused to the world. And then the last 3 to 4 days right before our period, this is when estrogen and progesterone drop, and so we tend to be really, really sensitive.
Hmm.
And what all of these things are, they all have this gigantic benefit that they give to us when we understand them and when we're not trying to make them be something we're not. So when I let the phase be the phase, everything feels easier. So when I let the luteal phase be intense with its fine details, and I let the ovulation phase feel hot and potent, I feel better all month long when I'm doing what feels easy and good and what feels like an aligned skill set with my body for the time of the month that I'm in.
Okay, shocker. Listen to your body. I know, like, that's a thing that everybody
Step 1.
says, but come on, you're supposed to listen to your body. And I wonder if in that luteal phase, when we're more sensitive, that's the phase where men call us more often, or like, dude, I need flowers.
Yes. That is definitely the time. And so the thing that's really cool about what we've built out, so we've got a physical planner, we built an app, we've got a cycle sticker. So this one is actually for your partner. So
Hmm.
it's a little window cling, you put it on the mirror in the bathroom and you just push the arrow to where you are in your phase, and it gives the guy in your life a tip for what you will need. Just like
Hmm.
right there.
Oh,
Boom.
that's brilliant.
Done.
Brilliant. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. I love that. So I love the fact that your approach is it's not just health, it's about working smarter. It
Yes.
makes sense. How can you, okay, so we all have these crazy jobs and we're trying to do all of these things, and you have to be everything to everyone all the time, supposedly. Can you walk me through how someone could start planning their month so that it aligns with their cycle a little bit?
Yes, this is such a great question. This one comes up a lot. And I think what scares people is that they think if you decided you're going to live like this, it's almost like you have to be the poster child for living cyclically, right? You have to like, I'm sorry, boss, I can't meet that day. I'm on my period, right? Like we feel like all of this pressure to really be kind of out there with all of the content. But what that looks like is actually if you do the mapping on your period and you're like thinking through the future, when that event is going to come up, like my partner and I do this all the time. Like, okay, when are we going to sneak in a kid free weekend? And he'll look like, oh, that would actually be great because you're on your bleed that time. So let's make sure we can get the grandparents involved to get the kiddos out of the house so you have more rest time. Or maybe sometimes we prioritize a different phase, whatever the case may be. Before we plan something big with our family, we check in to see what the capacity is going to look like. Because if I don't have the capacity and I'm half the team, that does not bode well for the success of the whole team.
Yeah.
So really having that conversation so that there's no judgment. So I'm not bad or wrong for how my body works. He's not bad or wrong for the fact that his body does the same thing pretty much every day. But we look, how can we connect these dots together for our family? Same thing with work. I'm like, hey, if you would have reached out to me on a podcast day that didn't really work, I don't have to tell you, hey, Lizzie, I'm on my period. I don't want to do it that day. I would just say, hey, that day doesn't work well. How about we do this day instead?
Yeah.
Right. So that self awareness really lets you know what you've got the capacity for, and you'll learn yourself more and more over time of tracking what feels really good and what slots in well for your particular set of challenges or personality types that I don't have, right? You're going to learn as being your own cycle scientist, is what we like to call it. So you'll really start to learn over tracking and planning in this way in a couple of months what feels out of alignment and what feels totally super duper juicy and in alignment. And then you can use that information for future cycles. So you can really use that information to help yourself plan better in the future, and it doesn't have to change your entire life overnight. We're like, okay, I tried that. That doesn't work super well for me in the luteal phase. Noted. I'm going to try to do it next time in the follicular phase. And you just start to take these little notes for yourself, and step by step, phase by phase, you will learn how your personality maps with this thing that's naturally occurring to find your most balance.
So how do you handle deadlines or activities or events that fall outside of that ideal phase? How do you stay true to what you're trying to do for yourself? And I it's probably a bigger question, but how do you stay true to what you need when you still may have things that you have to do?
I love that question. So part of what our app does is it syncs your cycle information to your Google Calendar. So when you're looking ahead, so like there are times when I have to travel and it's not a great time for me to be traveling because I know I'm going to be on my period. Where I'm like, okay, I'm having my whole period kit, any of the supplements that I like, my period underwear, and I've got it. And I know this isn't going to be my favorite thing. I'm going to be at a conference during the day, and I'm going to plan that when I get done, instead of going out to hang out with everyone at the bar, I don't even drink alcohol anymore. I'm going to go back to my room and crash out early so that I'm ready for the next day. Right? It's about being honest, being self-aware with what you will actually have capacity for. And then still, it doesn't mean I blow off everything in my life. It's like, what are those extra tools I bring with me so I can have a barricade around myself of support and a structure that helps to hold me up where I'm at a phase, what I call a phase mismatch. And that happens a lot. That happens weekly for me. I'm like, I'd really rather go hang out with my friends, but I have to do my taxes. So, like sometimes you just have to do the adult thing if you want to keep your job or keep your family running, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes we don't have that
just
choice.
life.
And the more that you do this, the more that you know, the more you get good at slotting things in advance. So let's say your taxes aren't due for a month, but right now you're in the luteal phase. Okay, I'm going to work on them now. I'm just going to get that done. It's going to be so much easier and so much faster than if I wait for a month and then it's going to get turned in a day before the deadline. So you
Well,
start to also be able to reshift and reorient your schedule over time when you're paying attention.
it makes sense. It makes sense. You have to pay attention to you and take care of you.
Yeah.
So you co-created the Agenda app as a tool to make the process easier. What inspired it, and how does it work for someone who's maybe just starting out?
Yeah, we really just wanted to give everyone the toolkit to understand how to plan with their phases, to understand what was going on. So our first product was the physical product. So we had 100 women in business do a beta test with us. We turned all of that content and that learning into a physical planner, and then we took that physical planner out into the world. And people were like, "This is great. When are you making an app?" I was like, "Literally never. Like I'm a health coach. I'm not doing that."
Wait, that's a lot
And
of
when I
pressure. Hold on.
like literally get someone else to do it. It can't be me. I couldn't be bothered. But the more that people tell you about something, the more I'm like, okay, I really care about the delivery method. I want the most number of people to get this as possible. And so we moved into creating a mobile application. And that again was from all the things we learned from the first time. So when people get in there, you get your agenda page. So it lets you know what's up for you today. What are some self-care ideas? What are some work tasks that would feel really, really good? Then, like I mentioned, you can connect it to your Google Calendar. And then we've got a cycle store in there. So we actually, when you're tracking your symptoms, we recommend products for people in real time that help them work to get symptomatic relief so that their overall cycle can feel a lot better. And then from there, people can go to our upgraded subscription, which actually gives you a wellness score and will give you things to work on in real time. So we'll actually give you tasks to do that day to help improve your wellness score if you're feeling down. Things like drink some water, some of those simple things. But when we're in the middle of it, it's hard for us to grab all the tools we know about when
Yes.
we're in the middle of our stressed out lives. Like it's not that we don't know the right things to do. It's that we feel it's hard to compel us to do the right thing when we're under resourced. So our goal is like, how can we create that buffer and how can we give you more energetic resource so you can keep reaching for the choice that's actually most aligned with what your body needs?
So, again, in the barn, I have women in multiple phases of life. I have one young lady who has just had a baby. I have another young lady who is probably starting to hit the very beginning of menopause. I have some other folks who work with us who are outside of menopause. You've got people who are like in the middle. So, like, you have all these different phases and all these different places where, you know, my cycle personally when I was 12 is different than when I was 20, than when I was 30. Now that I'm older, like, how
Yeah.
does the app adjust, and how do you help people adjust as all of that is happening?
Yeah, we really like to say we support people from their first period through their last period. And there is a lot of variation. And the thing that is most important to understand is that woman's unique individual cycle. So when you are tracking diligently, you will start to see those shifts happening and you'll start to understand, oh, this pattern is different than it used to be. Hey, my cycle was every 28 days and now it's every like 23 days. What's going on? Well,
Yeah.
that indicates more estrogen, right? So you're ovulating more frequently. That typically happens as you're going through perimenopause. Or let's say you now your periods are 45 days apart. Okay, that indicates lower progesterone, right? Or these just all these different like these dials that can get twisted and turned. And so what we've seen with our people who have the highest rates of success is they start tracking early and then they can have reach for interventions as they come up and as they are necessary because they understand what their baseline is. The thing that gets people really twisted around in wellness and diet culture loves to say like, this is the recipe for everybody. These
Yeah.
are the 10 things that you need to do to feel amazing. And the problem with that is every single body is different. So I've worked with thousands of people now as a health coach. And
Wait
for
a minute.
me,
Wait a
if you,
minute. Pause. Can you say that again?
yeah, I've worked with thousands of people as a health
How
coach.
cool is that? How cool is that? I
Yeah.
mean, you
Thank you. Thank
took
you.
a beta test of 100 people, and now it's not just 1,000. You have an S on the end of that.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Sorry. I just
Yay.
I said
Thank
it
you. Women
so
are terrible
cool.
at calling themselves out. So I was quick to just brush right by that one.
Yes,
So
you
thank you for
did.
holding it. Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so what it comes down to is each person needs different things. So for example, oatmeal is always one that seems to be on like the no list for like optimum health. Like it's so high, it's like a carbohydrate that has a lot of sugar and it can be pretty bad if you're trying to be on a diet.
Oh my god,
However, I have
kills me because I
ADHD.
live on granola. I live on
Yes.
oatmeal. I'm like
Yes,
so
ma'am.
deep
Me
in the
too.
oatmeal.
Yes, because I'm also what the diet culture is forgetting is all these other layers. So I also have ADHD. So a complex carbohydrate in the morning is fantastic for my brain, for keeping me focused, boosting dopamine. It helps me with all of these other ways that any potential blood sugar spike, the impact is so minimalized compared to all of the freaking benefits that I'm getting.
Yes. Yes,
But you're
and
never going to know that if you're following a one size fits all diet, which is why every single person has to understand what foods work for their unique body, what exercise works for them. All of it has to be personalized.
mm, and that's
Hey there, flower friends. We need to talk about something sweet.
Petal Pantry is our new line of floral salts and sugars made from flowers we grow right here at Wildly Native Flower Farm. Think of a pinch of floral sugar on your morning muffin, a sprinkle of floral sugar on your cookies, or a blossom-infused salt to make every weeknight dinner extra fancy.
Best part, it's all natural and made with real farm-grown blossoms.
Treat your taste buds and get 10% off your first order today at wildlynativeflowerfarm.com with the code FLOWERFILES.
Now, let's get back to the show.
Woohoo!
it's so important. So important.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have like all these questions now. Sorry.
Let's go in all the directions because this is a
Okay.
blast.
Okay, perfect.
Keep them coming.
Perfect. All right. So how does somebody who's on birth control, how does this affect their whole cycle and trying like because I blah here I threw up my question at you.
Yes, birth control. It's
Yeah.
always kind of like this big question mark in the room. We want everyone to do the thing. There's like a couple of things can be true at the same time, right? We want everyone to do the thing that they need to do for their body.
Mhm.
I am not unique. I was on birth control for 10 years and I found it was very successful for keeping me not pregnant
Yeah.
and not very successful at supporting me in my hormones and actually feeling good in my body, right?
Yeah.
It did
Thank
not do
you.
that
Yes.
successfully.
No, it makes people so miserable.
Yeah, I was pretty miserable. I was pretty depressed. I had a pretty low libido. I didn't want to, like do all the things because our hormones make up our personality. And so
Yes.
what happens on birth control is we're essentially like our body thinks we're pregnant for the whole time that we're on birth control. And so if anyone who has been pregnant, you kind of understand, oh, that might not be like a great mental space to be in for a decade. Like the feelings that I feel that I'm pregnant, but for 10 years long. Like that's a long time to have that kind of mental health space. And
Yeah.
so I don't think it's a great tool. And I also think women are capable of tracking And I know that's really complex for people. So if someone is listening to this, this comes without any judgment. I have been there myself. And what I would recommend you do is continue to track and see what you notice. Are you noticing anything about your moods? Because when I look back, I would notice a tremendous amount when I would do the sugar pill week when I was in college. I was dating a guy. We weren't great for each other. Every time I was on the sugar pill week, which means artificial hormones out of my body, my
Mhm.
hormones in my body, I was like, this is dangerous. I can't keep staying in this relationship. I
Yep.
wanted to break up with him every single month. As soon as I would get back on the pill, I was like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, because it messes with your hormones and those hormones, but correct me if
Yes.
I'm wrong, doesn't it makes your body think like, well, you have to hold on to things because you're in that
Yes.
like, hey, I'm pregnant, I have to be taken care of kind of space.
Things.
Yeah.
Yes, and it just messes with our stress receptors. They've done some interesting research where people would pick different partners, like the husbands and wives we choose are different if we meet when we're on artificial hormones, because you are not as compatible with them when you're not on those hormones. There is so much to this because yes, we are these evolved humans and we're also animals. We are
Yeah.
biological creatures that have been designed with a way that was picked over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution to land. Like our body decided having a menstrual cycle was the most efficient way to be a woman on the planet.
Yes. And as you said, everybody who has uteruses. I mean, if you're working in
Yes.
an animal science perspective, you're going to see all of that as well. Like
Yep.
it's all interconnected. It's absolutely all interconnected. Okay. So what
It is.
happens if
Yeah.
you're one of those people who just have irregular cycles? What do you do? What do you guys how does your app support them as well?
I would say a lot of folks like the word around things being irregular is kind of funky because a lot of people are just not tracking their cycle when we actually dig into it with them. Now that's not to say there are no people with irregular cycles. But when we look at the overall health of a menstrual cycle, they say the average day is 28 days, but whatever your average rate is, let's say it's 25 days for you, then you can kind of do 2 days below that or 2 days above that. So like, let's say it's typically 25. So, this month it came on 23 or, this month it came on 27. That's still within a clinical range of normal. And so people who they're like, it's not exactly the same number of days every single time. It's irregular. That's not true. I've heard people say, well, it always started on a Monday and now it started on a Tuesday, so I'm irregular. Nope, that doesn't have anything to do with it either. It has to do with the number of days, right? So
Interesting.
let's say it just like you got one extra day. February was a short month, and so now it started on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. That doesn't mean you're irregular. Another one that we hear a lot is they're like, I had two periods in the same month, I'm irregular. Well, if the last day of your period was on January 1st and the first day of your period of your next cycle was on January 29th, that doesn't mean you really had two periods. It wasn't like you had an irregular number of periods. It just, again, based on the total day count, it just kind of got wonky where you had a period at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
So I'd say that is what catches up most of the bucket of irregular periods. And so people, when we start to understand what it really means to have a healthy, regular schedule, understanding we can have those variations a couple days early, a couple days late, with still being in our clinical range of normal. When we're tracking all of that, then when stuff gets far out of that variation, again, that's when we're like, okay, crap, something's up here. That could be an indication of PCOS, some other kind of hormonal health condition. And again, when we're watching for those signs, then we can start to make informed action to change those very specific things that we see are getting funky with our cycle.
I love the fact that you are so comfortable just talking about this in general because I feel like it's so hush hush. It's so
Yeah.
it's not a conversation. I feel like there's all of these myths and taboos. How do you what do you run into and how do you handle them when teaching this?
I Thank you. That's a great question. I would say the thing about feminism that was awesome was also terrible. Like it got women into this place in the workforce where they're more or less on equal footing from their male counterparts. And yet in order to get there, we had to completely forget about all of our biology. And that's why we saw like the increase in birth control, increase in hysterectomies. We've seen a lot of these things that women have given up and cut away from themselves in order to fit in, because the way we typically talk about it in culture is like, oh, you had brought it up earlier, right? Those last couple of days, my partner might say I'm being too sensitive or bitchy or whatever. Oh, it's about to be your period, right? Like we have all of these judgments that are put on us, so women kind of stop talking about it or pretend like it's not happening. And yet anyone who's lived with a woman knows we are 4 different people throughout the month.
100%.
We are not the same. We're not the same.
No.
And I think for women to finally be able to say that, that takes the power back. And then if a man's like, oh, you're really different today, I'm like, I am. You're really the same. Isn't that boring? Like, ew, you're the same person every single day forever. Yikes. I'm different. I'm different 4 times a month. That feels more exciting to me. So I've really worked hard to reclaim it for myself, and then just to be honest about it, because from my position over here, us pretending like it's not happening just leads us further and further away from each other. It's not doing anyone any favors by not saying the truth of what's happening.
It's very, very, very true. Very true. Somebody once said that women have 4 parts of their cycle over the month, where men seem to have them each day.
Yes.
I was like, okay,
Yes.
interesting. I feel like there is such a powerful ripple effect when women understand and truly honor their cycles, not just in work, but in relationships, self-images, leadership. How do you see this crossing culture? I know that's like a left field question. Okay, so the reason I'm asking this, and I know this, okay, I'm a nerd. Everybody who listens to me all the time knows that I'm a nerd, but
Big nerd here. Big nerd crew. Let's
so
go. Let's nerd out.
years ago, when Michael Phelps was swimming and it was the Olympics, and I was like hooked. I'm always hooked on the Olympics, but because I'm a klutz and I can trip on air, I'm fascinated that these people are actually like functional. But anyway, there was a gal who was upset with her time. Everyone thought that she was going to be this great, big, fantastic winner that day. She came in third. And that is not where everybody said she was going to be. And she said, like, openly, well, I had my period, so I definitely wasn't at the top of my game. And you could see the reporter's face like, oh my God, she said that, and now I don't know what to do with it. But they couldn't unsay it. They couldn't undo it. And I just was curious if you, in working with women and different perspectives and cultures, do you see certain cultures or certain perspectives different around the world compared to maybe some of the things that are here? Am I
Absolutely.
asking that better?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say there are places where like overall the math in terms of like menstrual cycle support is a lot worse off than we are in the
Mhm.
United States. And there are lots of places that are better off than we are in the United States. And so I think we're almost like kind of in the middle category. So what we see in the previously colonized world, we see a lot of folks who lose a year of school compared to their male counterparts. So this happens quite a bit, maybe in Africa or some other places in Asia or South America, where girls will just not be able to afford the products that they need to stop menstruating all over themselves, so they can't go to school. So you count up all of those days, and it equates to in the span of a primary through secondary education about a year compared to their male counterparts. That is devastating economically, educationally, institutionally. That is a devastating thing that women and girls are bearing the cost of. And there's also like Europe, they have less bad signs of and symptoms of perimenopause and menopause because they eat within a lot much more alignment of how their bodies are naturally. There's more of that emphasis around exercise and healthcare and prevention, right? So they're having a lot less bad experiences throughout this process as women maybe are in North America. And so we see like the culture around it completely really impacts how women and girls and menstruators are experiencing these transitional life points based on what's built around in the culture. And so that's as we keep going down this path, I want to get male allies involved. We want more men. I even wrote a book about periods for men. It's called Menstruation: How to Suck Less When Someone Around You Has Their Period. So I wrote a book, I self-published it, and then we kept doing a bunch of other stuff for the company. But I did write a book for men because when the people who are in systems of power start to reach across the aisle and make more space, we see it has a tremendous impact on GDP across the entire world. gender inequality is a $1.3 trillion problem
Mm.
that is directly tied to lack of menstrual management and lack of menstrual cycle support for women and girls.
Wow. Wow. So in your experience, how would you think that we can talk more openly without stigma, or not necessarily embarrassment, but like, I guess stigma is the best descriptor.
Yeah, I think what it really takes is teaching boys and girls together early, is letting them understand what's going on, what's happening with the cycle, what's happening with bodies, and just saying, hey, bodies either have a 24-hour program or they have a 28-day program. And this is what that means. And this is what this means. And neither of them are good or bad or better than the other one. In fact, we've proven out to make human life, we need both types of programs running. We can't just have all 24-hour programs or all 28-day programs. We need them both. And for each of them to function successfully, they require different resources. And that's where we get into that equity conversation. But I think it's really pretty intuitive. It's almost weird when I talk about this, is like I've had less bad responses from men than women because men don't have the
Really
shame and stigma associated with it. And so what
interesting.
if we can get some more guys involved? I actually think that's a really important way to move the conversation forward on a global scale.
Interesting. 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 I I I always share a ton of stuff on the podcast, but I will never ever ever forget. I was in high school and there was a girl who she had just dropped a tampon in class. There was a
Mm,
substitute in class that day, and I'll never ever forget. The guys were all very like, hee 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 hee. And the one guy picked it up, he took it out of the package, and he depressed the plunger of the tampon and then
yep.
pulled it back and like moved it around and just was like, mechanically, this is actually kind of smart. I was like, okay, like not what I
I love that about men. Men are
ever.
like that. They're like, so many men are like, this is really cool, Alex. Do you have like a thing I can use with my hormones to track them and be more productive?
Oh,
Like, sorry, John, that's one you're gonna have to figure out on your own, buddy. I got a pretty big fish to fry over here. But like, they do get like that. They're like, oh, like the mechanics of this is actually interesting. Let me intellectualize this, and then I can be supportive.
yeah,
So I'm like, I've seen men do that a lot, actually.
yeah. I don't think, maybe they haven't seen it, or maybe they've seen it, but I mean, they would have probably no reason to actually interact with something like that. I never forget that everybody else in that room was like, "Ooh," and freaking out. I was like, first of all, it's clean. You took it out of the container. Like, calm
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
But from a mechanical standpoint, okay, okay, interesting. Very, very, very
Yes.
interesting. So,
Yeah, I've had and when I say this, I'm like, I'm sure you know this. I'm sure you don't feel safe saying this, but I can say out loud, your wife is 4 different people throughout the month. And the look of just like relief and confusion that crosses their face. They're
yeah,
like, wait, I can say that? I'm like, you probably shouldn't, I can say that. You probably shouldn't say that yet, but
yeah.
I
Don't
can
say that out
say
loud.
that.
Come
I can say that.
on. Or call me first, get flowers, and then say it.
Exactly. But they're like, "Oh my God, that's like it feels so intuitively true." And it feels so intuitively true to women. I'm like, the number one comment I get from women is, "Where has this been my whole life?"
Yes.
Because yeah. Cuz yeah, there's a week now that you're saying that, Alex. There's a week that feels like XYZ. Yep.
Yeah, where I
So
can get
we're
everything
all
done. I get everything done, and
yes.
it's working,
Everything.
everything's perfect, and it's so good, and then the next week, I'm like, "I just
Blech.
want to bed, leave me alone."
Yes. And so
Wow.
when we learn how to orient and work with that energy, when we are in partnership with it, it takes the sting away. It takes the frustration, it takes the impotence away because we're like, oh, I can take that seriously, but not personally. This is the phase I'm in. We don't yell at the sun in winter. Like doing that would be futile. Like,
I don't
damn
know.
it, sun,
Some
come
days
out.
some
Why isn't it
days
summer? We've all tried it. It doesn't work. Let the season be the
it
season. Let the
doesn't,
phase be the
it
phase.
doesn't. Oh god, when it's gray and it's winter and I'm, like, outside for, like, the 5th day in a row and there's been no sunshine, I'm just like, "Where are you? Please come back."
And I think
Yeah,
that's what it can feel like in our menstrual cycle when we don't understand what's happening. I had dark days in the luteal phase when I started my health coaching company because I felt like a failure because I just had all of those chemicals and hormones in my brain that help me feel good or help me roll through tough times, they're depleted during that phase. And so it's like whatever the news is, your brain can apply a worse filter to it in the luteal phase. So I'm like, hey, we take things seriously, not personally. We calculate in, we do a phase adjustment. Oh, that news was really hard, and I'm taking it even harder than normal because I'm in the luteal phase.
Yeah.
So we can use that information without making it an excuse, without weaponizing it against ourselves. And it just gives us context for why things probably feel pretty crappy right now,
Yeah.
and gives me hope. It's the thing that, like, I know spring is going to come again.
That makes
I know the sun will come back.
Wow. So much sense. I totally get that.
Yeah.
God, this is so good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So is there any question that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
I would think that my favorite question is like, this all sounds well and good, but how do you practically get started? Because it feels overwhelming in a modern world.
I would
And
agree
I
with
think
that.
that's,
I would agree.
and that's when I say we just like, we do a lot of coming back to the basics. So if you don't have time to exercise, like put on that watch, we're going to do 5 minutes today. Come back to the basics, start tracking your cycle, start to understand, okay, I'm here. This means I need X, and just do one of those things per day. Just come back to yourself, give yourself the gift of your own loving attention, because women are pretty notoriously bad at carving out space for themselves. And that makes everything else in our lives feel so much harder than it needs to.
And so much bigger.
Yeah,
Like,
so
it's
much
just
bigger.
so much bigger because, I need to do this, and this. And it's like, okay, do I really? It's okay.
Yeah.
I
Well, and the more you say like, oh, I'm going to wait till the next luteal phase for that. And you're like, oh, my house didn't burn down. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And
That's fine.
gravity.
What a fun
Oh my
experiment.
God. I'm so grateful for gravity. Gravity holds laundry in place and holds dishes in place.
Yes.
Thank you, gravity.
Thank you so much. Took that off my plate for me. I can just sit there and chill for a whole nother day. No big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I love
So,
that. The gravity one, I'm borrowing that. That one's locked into long-term memory. That's perfect.
I definitely have used that. I'm just like, gravity holds it in place. Not going to worry about it.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
okay, Alyx, this has been amazing, empowering, and like uplifting. If anyone wants to learn more and they want to connect with you or try anything, where should they go? What do they do?
Theagendaperiod.com. That is our main landing place for all cyclical goodness. Our shop's on there. Information on how to get in touch is on there. And then if you just check us out on TikTok or Instagram, we're at The Agenda Period. And we're the people answering the box. If you've got questions, hit us with them. And we are so excited to point you in a direction to get the tools that you need to live your cyclical best.
I love the fact that you just said we are the people in the box. It's not AI, it's not automatic. It's like, no, like we're real humans. We're real
Real
people.
humans.
Yeah.
And we do a happy dance every time another real human downloads the app. Like, it just makes our whole day. It's so cute. So please check it out and know you will have real humans dancing on the other end.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And to everyone listening, remember your cycle isn't something to work against, it's something to work with. So if you love this episode, you know the usual spiel at the end that you hear from all the podcast people: like, share, download, send to friends, all of the things. But until next time, keep growing.